Focus is wealth, building invisible habits that create visible success. Written and published by Stoic Ranger. Introduction. Success is often imagined as a single moment of glory, a promotion, a sudden breakthrough, or a stroke of luck that changes everything. But in reality, true success is far quieter, far slower, and far more invisible than most people think. It is not built overnight, nor does it arrive with a loud announcement. Instead, it is built in silence, in the small choices that few notice, and in the invisible habits that compound over time until they create visible results. Focus, therefore, becomes the true measure of wealth, because wealth is not just money. It is health, clarity, peace, mastery, and the ability to direct your energy toward what matters most. To be wealthy is to live with focus, for the scattered life is always poor, no matter how much money it holds, while the focused life multiplies its returns in every direction. In this book, we will uncover 7 powerful chapters that reveal how invisible habits can create visible success and how mastering focus can make you truly wealthy. Chapter 1. The hidden currency of focus. Focus is more valuable than money, more powerful than time, and rarer than talent, because it is the force that multiplies everything else. A person may have a fortune, but without focus, that fortune is wasted on meaningless distractions. A person may have all the time in the world, but if they cannot direct their attention toward something productive, their hours slip away into nothingness. Even talent, which so many people glorify, is useless when scattered. How many people do you know who have skills, intelligence, or potential, but never seem to achieve anything remarkable? The difference is not in ability, but in the way they guard or waste their focus. Every day, attention is fragmented by countless distractions. Notifications on your phone constantly demand your presence. Conversations around you pull your mind in 100 directions. Noise from social media fills your head with endless chatter, and even your own thoughts wander restlessly from one thing to another. It is no surprise that so many people feel exhausted and yet unaccomplished at the end of the day. They are working, but their focus is scattered, and scattered focus is like trying to fill a bucket with holes. It doesn't matter how much effort you pour in, the water leaks out before it can accumulate. What most people do not realize is that focus itself is a form of currency. Just as you can spend money recklessly or invest it wisely, you can either scatter your attention on meaningless things or channel it into something valuable. Every time you give in to distraction, you are making a withdrawal from your bank of focus, and the return on that withdrawal is almost always empty. A few hours lost scrolling through your phone, a day wasted worrying about things you cannot control, or weeks spent chasing unimportant goals are all examples of spending focus without any return. On the other hand, when you deliberately guard your attention, when you choose carefully where to direct your mental energy, you are making an investment. The beauty of focus is that when it is invested in meaningful work, whether that work is building a business, mastering a skill, improving your health, or strengthening your relationships, it compounds. That investment grows silently, day by day, until the results are visible to everyone around you. When you allow your attention to scatter, you are essentially trading valuable hours of clarity for fleeting moments of distraction. It feels pleasurable in the moment to check notifications, to chase instant gratification, or to give in to every impulse. But that momentary pleasure costs you far more than you realize. It steals from your future. But when you protect your focus and channel it towards something meaningful, you are planting seeds that will one day bear fruit in abundance. The invisible habit of focus does not look glamorous from the outside. People won't see the quiet hours you spend in solitude, the things you say no to, or the noise you shut out. But they will see the results later, the book you wrote, the business you built, the strength you developed, or the mastery you achieved. Focus is the silent engine behind every great achievement because it magnifies effort. Think of sunlight. When it spreads loosely across a wide surface, it simply warms the ground. But when you take that same sunlight and channel it through a magnifying glass, it becomes powerful enough to ignite fire. Focus works in the same way. A few minutes of pure, undistracted concentration are more valuable than hours of divided attention. Those who learn to enter states of deep focus consistently achieve more in a year than most people achieve in a decade. Wealth, therefore, is not only measured in bank accounts. True wealth lies in the ability to direct your mind toward building something enduring and valuable. Money can come and go, but the ability to focus, to take your attention and apply it with intensity and consistency, will always create results that money alone cannot buy. Focus is a form of wealth because it buys you progress, mastery, and freedom. It buys you the ability to control your life instead of being controlled by distractions. Protect it like treasure, because once you lose focus, no amount of talent, time, or money can make up for what is wasted. Chapter 2. The Power of Micro-Habits. When people imagine success, they often think of massive transformations, dramatic breakthroughs, or once-in-a-lifetime opportunities that change everything. They believe success comes from giant leaps, sudden luck, or extraordinary talent. But the truth is far simpler and far less glamorous. Real success is built on micro-habits, the small, invisible actions repeated day after day until they become part of your identity. Micro-habits are not flashy, and they rarely impress anyone in the beginning. They are easy to overlook because they seem too small to matter. But in reality, they are the foundation upon which every visible success is built. Think about how compound interest works in the financial world. You deposit a small amount, and at first it looks insignificant, almost meaningless. But as time passes, the interest builds upon itself, growing quietly in the background until the numbers become staggering. Micro-habits work the same way, except instead of money, the investment is your effort, your discipline, and your focus. Reading a single page of a book may not make you wise in a day, but reading one page every day for a year means you've consumed an entire library of wisdom over a lifetime. Doing 10 push-ups may not transform your body immediately, but 10 push-ups a day builds strength and discipline that compounds. Writing a few sentences may not look like much, but a few sentences written daily eventually create chapters, and those chapters grow into books. The mistake most people make is underestimating small actions and overestimating the need for massive change. They wait for motivation, for the perfect time, or for a grand opportunity to appear. They want to change their lives overnight, and when they fail to see results instantly, they quit. But the invisible truth is this: greatness is rarely the result of one big decision. It is the result of thousands of tiny decisions made consistently over time. Micro-habits are powerful because they bypass resistance. They are small enough to feel easy, almost too easy, yet their compounding power over weeks, months, and years is unstoppable. The invisible nature of micro-habits is what makes them so difficult to value. No one applauds you for drinking a glass of water instead of soda. No one praises you for choosing to read for 5 minutes instead of scrolling on your phone. No one sees the impact of saving a few dollars each day instead of wasting them on meaningless expenses. Yet, over time, these invisible choices separate the successful from the unsuccessful. They create invisible lines that gradually widen into massive differences in health, wealth, knowledge, and happiness. Another secret of micro-habits is that they build identity. Each small action is not just something you do, it is a vote for the person you are becoming. Every time you read instead of wasting time, you cast a vote for being a learner. Every time you exercise instead of making excuses, you cast a vote for being disciplined. Every time you wake up early, you cast a vote for being someone who values their time. Slowly, those micro-actions compound into an identity shift, and once your identity changes, your life follows. The beauty of micro habits is that they require no talent, no special background, and no extraordinary resources. Anyone can build them. They are democratic in nature, available to the rich and poor alike, to the young and the old, to the gifted and the ordinary. The only requirement is consistency. It is not the size of the action that creates wealth, but its persistence over time. Those who understand this principle stop chasing quick fixes and begin focusing on invisible daily disciplines. While others wait for the right time, the wise quietly build micro-habits that transform their future. Micro-habits are the true architects of wealth because they are invisible until they become undeniable. At first, no one notices the person who wakes up an hour earlier, who saves a little money, who practices a skill daily, or who invests in their health. But after years, the results are so visible that people call them lucky, gifted, or privileged, without realizing it was micro-habits all along. Wealth, whether financial, intellectual, emotional, or physical, is the byproduct of these silent builders. If you want to change your life, do not wait for a massive opportunity or a perfect plan. Begin with one micro-habit today. Choose something so small it feels almost impossible to fail, and then repeat it until it becomes a natural part of who you are. Success is not about intensity, it is about consistency. The one who takes small, focused steps daily will always outlast the one who runs fast for a short time and then quits. Remember this, your future is being built not by what you dream of doing, but by the invisible micro-habits you choose to practice today. Chapter 3. Energy Management over Time Management. For as long as people can remember, the idea of time management has been preached as the ultimate key to success. Countless books, seminars, and systems have promised that if you just learned how to schedule your hours properly, you would unlock a more productive and fulfilling life. And yet, even with all the planners, calendars, and productivity tools available, people still find themselves burned out, overwhelmed, and dissatisfied. Why? Because the real secret to success is not time management, it is energy management. Time may be equal for everyone, but energy is not. Each of us wakes up with a certain amount of energy each day, much like a battery charge. How we use that energy determines the quality of our work, the sharpness of our focus, and the results we produce. Two people may both have 16 waking hours in their day, but one may spend those hours energized, alert, and creative, while the other drags themselves through the day exhausted, distracted, and unmotivated. Who do you think achieves more? It is not the one who has more time. It is the one who knows how to guard and direct their energy. This is the invisible truth many ignore. Hours mean little if the energy within them is drained. Most people try to cram more into their schedules, believing that success means being busy. They glorify long hours, endless hustle, and packed calendars. But busyness is not the same as productivity, and exhaustion is not the same as achievement. The invisible habit that separates those who thrive from those who merely survive is the ability to manage energy, knowing when to push, when to rest, when to create, and when to recover. Without energy, even the most perfectly planned schedule collapses. Managing energy begins with protecting your body and mind. Sleep, nutrition, exercise, and mental clarity are not luxuries. They are the foundation of your energy bank. Skipping sleep may give you more hours, but those hours are worthless if you are too tired to think clearly. Eating poorly may save time, but the sluggishness it brings will cost you 10 times more. Neglecting movement may feel convenient, but the decline in vitality it causes will drain your ability to perform at your best. The invisible habit of taking care of your health is one of the most powerful energy investments you can make because it multiplies your ability to use your time effectively. Another crucial part of energy management is emotional discipline. Negative emotions such as anger, envy, and constant worry are some of the greatest thieves of energy. A single argument can drain you for hours. An unresolved grudge can exhaust you for years. Learning to manage your emotions by practicing patience, letting go of grudges, and focusing on solutions instead of problems is an invisible habit that saves enormous amounts of energy. When your heart is at peace, your energy is free to flow into meaningful work instead of being wasted on inner battles. Equally important is the environment you place yourself in. Surrounding yourself with toxic people, endless noise, or constant chaos forces your energy to scatter. On the other hand, surrounding yourself with uplifting people, clear spaces, and environments designed for focus refuels your energy naturally. Invisible habits like decluttering your workspace, limiting time with negative influences, and creating routines that bring calm may not seem dramatic, but they are energy-saving strategies that compound over time. The highest performers in every field, whether athletes, artists, entrepreneurs, or thinkers, are not the ones who simply work the longest hours. They are the ones who have learned how to manage their energy like a precious resource. They protect it fiercely, knowing that every drop wasted on distractions is energy that could have been invested in building mastery. They schedule their most important work for the hours when their energy is highest. They allow themselves periods of deep rest so that their energy can renew. They treat their energy like wealth, and because of this, they are able to multiply results in ways that others cannot. Energy management also requires knowing the difference between urgent and important. Many people spend their energy reacting to what seems urgent, emails, messages, tasks that others demand, while neglecting what is truly important, the work that moves their life forward. The invisible habit of stepping back, of asking, "Does this deserve my energy?" before committing, is what allows you to direct your limited power into the things that matter most. Every time you say yes to something meaningless, you are saying no to something meaningful. Energy is limited. Choose carefully where you spend it. When you begin to see energy as your true currency, everything changes. You stop asking, "How can I fit more into my day?" and instead ask, "How can I bring more energy into what I do?" You stop glorifying busyness and start valuing renewal. You stop comparing how many hours you work and begin measuring how effectively you use your best energy. This shift is subtle, but it is life-changing because it teaches you that success does not belong to the busiest person. It belongs to the person who manages their energy wisely. In the end, time passes whether we use it well or not, but energy determines the value we create within that time. If your energy is scattered, drained, or wasted, no amount of hours will bring success. But if your energy is focused, preserved, and invested wisely, even a few hours can change your life. Wealth, therefore, is not only about how much time you have, but about how much energy you can direct toward your purpose. Guard it, invest it, and let it guide your focus. For energy is the true key to turning invisible habits into visible success. Chapter 4: Eliminating the Noise. One of the most powerful yet overlooked habits that determines success is not found in adding more tasks, more goals, or more activities to your life, but in the art of subtraction, removing the unnecessary, the unimportant, and the distracting. We live in a world filled with noise. It is everywhere: the endless scrolling of social media, the constant buzzing of notifications, the pressure of other people's opinions, the flood of information that arrives faster than we can process, and even the clutter of our own thoughts. This noise does not simply waste time, it steals clarity, drains energy, and scatters focus. The tragedy is that most people do not even realize how much of their life is being lost to noise, because it has become the new normal. Yet those who achieve true success, those who build lasting wealth and peace, are often the ones who master the invisible habit of eliminating the noise. Noise is not only external, it exists within. Think of how many times you sit down to work on something important, but your mind keeps wandering to trivial things. Past regrets, imagined fears, comparisons with others, or the never-ending cycle of what-ifs. This mental noise is one of the greatest thieves of focus. Even when you are physically present with a task, you are absent in spirit because half your attention is trapped in mental chatter. Eliminating noise means more than turning off your phone or avoiding distractions. It means training yourself to silence the internal chaos that competes with your purpose. Externally, noise comes in many forms. It may be the television that is always on in the background, keeping your mind in a state of distraction. It may be the toxic relationship that constantly fills you with negativity. It may be the endless meetings or shallow commitments that consume your time but produce no progress. It may even be your environment, an untidy workspace, a cluttered home, a schedule filled with things you do not really value but continue doing out of habit. All of these are noise, and they prevent you from hearing the sound of what truly matters. The invisible habit of eliminating noise is therefore not about doing more, but about intentionally doing less. It is about saying no more often than you say yes. It is about learning that success is not built by scattering your energy across dozens of tasks, but by directing it toward the few things that matter most. Imagine your mind as a field of soil. If you plant too many seeds at once, none of them will grow properly because they will compete for water and sunlight. But if you clear away the weeds and plant only what you truly care about, those few seeds will flourish into a strong harvest. Eliminating noise is the act of clearing away the weeds in your life so that your true priorities can grow. This habit is invisible because most people will not see it happening. They will not notice when you turn down a dinner invitation to protect your time. They will not see the moment you delete an app from your phone to regain clarity. They will not applaud you for ending a relationship that drains your energy or for walking away from commitments that no longer align with your goals. In fact, some may criticize you, accuse you of being selfish, or fail to understand your choices. But you must remember that eliminating noise is not about pleasing others. It is about creating the silence necessary for focus. Without silence, you cannot hear your own thoughts. Without space, you cannot see the bigger picture. Without clarity, you cannot move forward with power. The wealth that comes from eliminating noise is not always immediate, but it is profound. When you reduce distractions, your productivity rises naturally. When you cut off toxic influences, your energy and confidence grow. When you simplify your environment, your mind finds clarity and peace. When you focus on fewer goals, you achieve more in less time. These are not glamorous habits. They do not happen on a stage, under applause, or in front of an audience. They happen in silence, when you choose to leave behind what does not matter so you can fully devote yourself to what does. The world around you will always try to pull your attention in countless directions. Businesses spend billions of dollars just to capture your focus for a few seconds. Social media is designed to keep you endlessly distracted. Negative people will always try to drag you into their chaos. If you are not deliberate about eliminating noise, you will live your life reacting instead of creating, surviving instead of thriving, scattering instead of focusing. The invisible habit of cutting away the unnecessary is therefore not optional. It is essential if you want visible success. Wealth is not only about accumulation, it is about clarity. The person who knows what to eliminate always surpasses the one who tries to do everything. Success does not belong to the person who runs the fastest in every direction. It belongs to the one who walks steadily in the right direction. Eliminating noise is how you find that direction, protect it, and commit to it with undivided focus. It is an act of courage to simplify, to say no, to protect your energy, and to create silence in a world that thrives on keeping you distracted. But once you practice this invisible habit consistently, the results will speak louder than any noise ever could. Chapter 5. The Ritual of Deep Work. In the modern world, people pride themselves on multitasking. They boast about how many things they can do at once, how quickly they respond to messages, how many meetings they attend, and how they are always busy. But busyness is not the same as productivity, and constant activity is not the same as progress. In fact, what most people call productivity is little more than shallow work. Answering emails, checking notifications, scrolling through updates, juggling small tasks that give the illusion of accomplishment but do not move life forward in any meaningful way. True success, the kind that builds mastery, creates wealth, and leaves a legacy, is almost always born from something very different. It comes from deep work, the ritual of immersing yourself fully in one task, without distraction, for long stretches of time, until you enter a state of flow where your abilities and your focus merge into something extraordinary. Deep work is rare in our age because it demands what the modern environment constantly tries to steal: silence, concentration, and patience. Yet it is precisely this rarity that makes it powerful. Think of it this way. Anyone can check emails, respond to messages, or skim through surface-level tasks, which is why those things are never highly rewarded. But the ability to sit quietly for hours, to think deeply, to create something of value, to solve complex problems, to design, to write, to learn without interruption, this is rare, and what is rare is always valuable. Deep work creates results that cannot be ignored. It produces the book that transforms lives, the invention that changes industries, the art that inspires generations, the strategy that builds empires. The ritual of deep work is an invisible habit because the process is hidden. People do not see the hours of silence, the quiet struggles, or the battles fought in the mind to resist distraction. They only see the final product, the polished performance, the groundbreaking idea, the successful business, or the finished masterpiece. That is why so many underestimate its power. They imagine results without appreciating the invisible discipline that created them. But deep work is not an accident. It is a choice, repeated consistently until it becomes a ritual. To enter deep work, you must first train your mind to resist the constant pull of shallow distractions. Notifications, endless browsing, multitasking, and reacting to every external demand are like thieves that rob you of the chance to go deep. Each time you give in to them, you strengthen the habit of distraction, and each time you resist, you strengthen the muscle of focus. This is why deep work is not just about scheduling hours. It is about reconditioning your brain to value depth over noise. It requires creating an environment where concentration is protected, carving out uninterrupted blocks of time, and entering each session with intention. Over time, this becomes a ritual, a sacred practice where your best ideas and efforts are born. The rewards of deep work go beyond productivity. It transforms the way you experience time. Hours spent in shallow work feel draining, as though you are running endlessly but getting nowhere. But hours spent in deep work feel different. They feel rich, meaningful, and satisfying because you know that your effort is creating something that matters. Time disappears, distractions fade, and you find yourself in flow, a state where your skills are fully engaged, where you lose track of yourself, and where work feels less like effort and more like expression. This flow is the birthplace of mastery, and mastery is the ultimate wealth. Another invisible advantage of deep work is that it builds resilience. The ability to focus deeply is like a mental muscle, and the more you practice it, the stronger it becomes. Just as lifting weights trains the body to grow stronger, immersing yourself in concentrated work trains the brain to resist distraction and endure discomfort. In the beginning, it may feel difficult to sit for even half an hour without wandering off. But as you build the ritual of deep work into your life, your capacity expands, and soon hours of focus feel natural. This endurance separates those who dabble from those who master, those who live in mediocrity from those who achieve excellence. It is also important to recognize that deep work is not only about professional tasks, it applies to every meaningful area of life. Spending uninterrupted time with a loved one without checking your phone or thinking about work is a form of deep work in relationships. Reflecting deeply on your goals, journaling or praying with full presence is deep work for the soul. Training your body with full focus, rather than casually going through the motions, is deep work for your health. Every part of your life can benefit from this invisible discipline because focus magnifies everything it touches. The world, however, will resist your attempts to practice deep work. Distractions will always appear more tempting because they offer instant gratification. Checking your phone feels easier than sitting with a blank page. Watching television feels more comfortable than wrestling with a difficult idea. Shallow work feels busy, and busy feels safe. But deep work requires the courage to face silence, to sit with discomfort, and to delay gratification in exchange for something greater. It requires you to trust that the invisible hours spent in solitude will one day reveal themselves as visible success. When you make deep work a ritual, it changes not just what you achieve, but who you become. You begin to see yourself as someone capable of focus, discipline, and mastery. You gain confidence because you know that while others are distracted, you are creating. You stop measuring your life by how many tasks you checked off and start measuring it by the depth of your contributions. And perhaps most importantly, you discover peace in knowing that your life is not being wasted on noise, but invested in building something meaningful. In the end, shallow work may keep you busy, but only deep work will make you wealthy, in knowledge, in skills, in peace, and in results. It is the invisible ritual that transforms ordinary effort into extraordinary outcomes. Protect it, practice it, and allow it to shape your life. For when you learn to work deeply, you hold the rarest form of power in a distracted world. The power to focus fully, create profoundly, and build success that others cannot ignore. Chapter 6. Patience, the invisible multiplier. In a world where everything moves faster and faster, patience has become one of the rarest virtues. We live in an age of instant gratification. Meals are delivered in minutes, answers are found in seconds, entertainment streams instantly, and social media gives us immediate bursts of attention. This culture has trained us to believe that results should come quickly, and when they do not, we grow restless, discouraged, or even quit altogether. Yet the truth is that the most meaningful success in life cannot be rushed. It requires time, discipline, and above all, patience. Patience is the invisible multiplier of all effort, because it allows the small actions you take today to grow silently into extraordinary outcomes tomorrow. Think of how seeds grow. You place a seed in the soil, water it, and then wait. Days may pass without seeing any change. Weeks may go by with nothing but bare ground. But beneath the surface, something invisible is happening. Roots are spreading, strength is forming, and a foundation is being built. If you grow impatient and dig up the seed too early, you destroy the very process that would have led to growth. But if you have patience, the invisible work beneath the soil eventually breaks through, and what once looked like nothing becomes something alive and flourishing. Success works in exactly the same way. Patience is what allows invisible habits to break through into visible results. The challenge is that most people abandon their efforts too soon. They start exercising but quit when they do not see changes in a few weeks. They begin saving money but give up when the numbers look small. They try to learn a new skill but stop when progress feels slow. They forget that everything worthwhile requires seasons of patience. The invisible hours of practice, the unseen days of discipline, and the quiet years of effort are all investments that multiply only with time. Without patience, all effort is wasted because you quit before the compounding can work its magic. Patience is also a test of faith, in yourself, in the process, and in the future. It forces you to believe that what you are doing matters, even when the results are not visible yet. It requires trusting that small steps will eventually add up, that the road you are walking will eventually take you to your destination. This trust is not easy in a world that constantly tempts you with shortcuts and quick fixes. But shortcuts almost always collapse because they lack the foundation that patience builds. A house built in haste may look impressive, but without strong foundations, it will crumble in storms. Patience is what lays those foundations, invisible and slow, but unshakable when tested. One of the greatest gifts of patience is the way it changes your relationship with time. Impatience makes time feel like an enemy, as though every moment without visible progress is wasted. But patience turns time into an ally, because you understand that every day is another opportunity for your efforts to compound. Just as interest grows in an account that is left untouched, your small habits grow stronger with every passing day you remain patient. This is why patience multiplies results, not because it changes what you do, but because it gives what you do the chance to accumulate. Patience also frees you from the trap of comparison. Impatience thrives when you measure yourself against others, constantly asking why they seem to be moving faster, why their results look bigger, why their journey seems easier. But patience reminds you that your path is unique and that speed is not the true measure of success. Some trees grow tall quickly but remain fragile, while others grow slowly, becoming strong enough to last centuries. Your journey is not meant to mirror someone else's. It is meant to unfold in its own rhythm. Patience teaches you to honor that rhythm, trusting that what is meant for you will come when the time is right. Another invisible power of patience is that it builds character. Waiting is not passive, it is active endurance. It requires discipline to continue showing up, even when motivation fades. It demands humility, because you cannot control the speed of outcomes. It cultivates resilience, because patience often means enduring failure, rejection, or setbacks without giving up. These qualities, discipline, humility, resilience, are the true foundations of wealth and success. They are not visible in the beginning, but over time they form an inner strength that no challenge can break. Patience also magnifies focus. When you are impatient, you jump from one thing to another, chasing quick wins and abandoning paths that require perseverance. But when you are patient, you can commit fully to a single pursuit, knowing that time will take care of the rest. This commitment deepens your focus, and deep focus produces results that scattered attention never could. Patience and focus are twin forces. One protects you from quitting too soon, the other protects you from being distracted. Together, they turn invisible habits into visible success. History is filled with examples of patience bearing fruit. Great inventors, artists, entrepreneurs, and leaders all endured long periods of silence before their work became recognized. The writer who spent years drafting in obscurity before a book changed the world. The scientist who failed thousands of times before discovering something revolutionary. The athlete who trained for decades before winning a single medal. The business leader who endured failures, setbacks, and criticism before finally building something lasting. From the outside, these people looked ordinary, even invisible, but patience was multiplying their efforts quietly, until one day their results became undeniable. In the end, patience is wealth because it gives your efforts time to compound. It transforms small invisible actions into great visible achievements. It frees you from the illusion that everything must happen now, and it teaches you that the best things are worth waiting for. Without patience, even the most talented, focused, and hard-working person will abandon their path too early. With patience, even the simplest daily effort becomes unstoppable. So, protect your patience as you would protect treasure. Do not confuse slowness with failure, and do not let the hunger for instant results rob you of lasting success. Remember that patience is not weakness. It is strength disguised as stillness. It is the invisible multiplier that makes every other habit powerful. If focus is wealth, then patience is the interest that grows it. Together they create results that cannot be rushed, cannot be denied, and cannot be taken away. Chapter 7. Aligning Habits with Purpose. Habits are powerful. They shape the way you think, act, and live, often without you even noticing. A habit repeated long enough becomes second nature, an invisible force that directs your life quietly but firmly. Yet while habits have the power to transform, they also carry a hidden danger. If they are not aligned with your deeper purpose, they can turn into empty routines. You may be disciplined, consistent, and hard-working, yet still feel unfulfilled because your habits are driving you toward a destination that does not matter to your soul. That is why aligning habits with purpose is the final and perhaps the most powerful, invisible habit of all. Purpose transforms routine into meaning, and meaning fuels persistence. Without it, even the most consistent habits eventually fade or feel hollow. To understand this clearly, imagine two people waking up at dawn every day. The first wakes up out of obligation, dragging themselves into a routine they do not love, performing tasks that feel meaningless. Their discipline may last for a while, but eventually, fatigue or resentment will overtake them. The second person wakes up with the same discipline, but their actions are connected to something larger, a dream they believe in, a mission they care about, or a vision of the person they want to become. For them, waking early is not just a habit, it is a step toward fulfilling their purpose. The difference between the two is not the habit itself, but the meaning behind it. This is the invisible power of alignment. When habits are aligned with purpose, they become unstoppable. Every small action feels connected to something greater, and that connection provides energy even on the hardest days. A writer who sees their work as a way to inspire others will keep writing even when no one is reading. A business owner who views their work as service will keep pushing forward even when profits are low. An athlete who connects training to a vision of becoming their best self will keep practicing even when motivation is gone. Purpose is the invisible fuel that keeps habits alive long after the initial excitement has faded. But what exactly is purpose? Purpose is not simply a goal, because goals can be reached and then forgotten. Purpose is deeper. It is the reason behind the goal, the why behind the what. It is the answer to the question, why does this matter? Without this answer, habits are fragile, because the moment they become difficult, you will abandon them. But when you know your why, you gain access to a strength that others cannot see. Purpose gives your actions weight, turning even the smallest routines into acts of significance. Aligning habits with purpose requires reflection. You must pause and ask yourself, what do I value most? What kind of person do I want to become? What contribution do I want to make to the world? Once you are clear on these questions, every habit you build should flow from that clarity. If you value health because you want to be strong for your family, then exercise is not just a habit. It is a way of living out that purpose. If you value wisdom because you want to guide others, then reading and learning are not just habits. They are expressions of your calling. If you value freedom because you want to design your own life, then financial discipline is not just a habit. It is a path toward that freedom. This alignment is what transforms invisible habits into visible legacies. One of the most damaging mistakes people make is building habits based on comparison. They copy what others are doing, thinking that if it worked for someone else, it must work for them. They force themselves into routines that do not fit their lives, chasing goals that do not match their values. This creates a disconnect where habits feel heavy and forced because they are not fueled by personal purpose. Alignment prevents this mistake. It ensures that the habits you practice are not borrowed from others, but rooted in your own vision. When your habits are aligned with who you are and what you truly care about, they stop feeling like a burden and start feeling like a privilege. Another invisible benefit of alignment is resilience. Life will always bring challenges, setbacks, and failures. When your habits are disconnected from purpose, these challenges become reasons to quit. But when your habits are tied to something bigger than comfort or convenience, you endure. You do not quit exercising because you missed a few days, because your purpose reminds you that health is non-negotiable. You do not abandon your dreams because the path is hard, because your purpose reminds you why the journey matters. You do not give up on building skills because progress is slow, because your purpose reminds you that growth takes time. Purpose anchors you in the storms of life, and aligned habits are the ropes that hold you steady. It is also important to recognize that alignment does not mean perfection. You will still stumble, miss days, or fall short. But when habits are aligned with purpose, you always return. You come back to the gym after a break, because you know health matters to your life's mission. You pick up the pen again after writer's block, because you know your words carry meaning beyond yourself. You restart saving money after setbacks, because you know your financial goals are tied to freedom for you and your loved ones. Alignment gives habits resilience, and resilience is what ensures that small actions eventually create great success. The wealth that comes from aligning habits with purpose is not just material, it is spiritual, emotional, and deeply fulfilling. Success without purpose often feels empty, like climbing a mountain only to realize it was the wrong one. But success with purpose feels rich because every step along the way carries meaning. Even the struggles feel worthwhile because they are tied to something bigger than yourself. This is why alignment is the final invisible habit that makes all others powerful. It is the key that ensures your focus, patience, energy, and discipline are all directed toward building a life that truly matters. In the end, habits are like arrows, and purpose is the target. Without a target, arrows may still fly, but they land randomly, leaving you exhausted but unfulfilled. But when you align habits with purpose, every arrow moves you closer to your vision. Each small daily action, though invisible to others, builds a legacy that will one day be undeniable. Align your habits with purpose, and you will discover that success is not only about achieving goals, it is about living a life of meaning, clarity, and fulfillment. Chapter 8. The Silent Architecture of Success. When you look at the lives of people who have truly built something extraordinary, whether it is wealth, mastery, influence, or inner peace, you will notice something that is rarely spoken about. Their greatness is not the product of one event, one decision, or one stroke of luck. Instead, it is built quietly, almost invisibly, through the habits they cultivate in silence. These habits, repeated consistently across months and years, form the architecture of success. The world often calls it talent, brilliance, or fortune, but beneath the surface lies a very different truth: invisible discipline, relentless focus, and a patience so steady that most people cannot even comprehend it. The reason most people fail to achieve lasting success is not because they lack intelligence or opportunity, but because they never understand the silent architecture behind it. They chase noise instead of silence, quick results instead of steady compounding, and visible appearances instead of invisible substance. They believe wealth lies only in money, forgetting that wealth also lives in health, in focus, in energy, in patience, in relationships, and in purpose. Without these invisible foundations, visible success collapses the moment it is tested. But those who understand the hidden architecture know that real wealth is built slowly, silently, and invisibly, until one day the structure stands so tall that no one can ignore it. The architecture of success begins with focus, because focus is the blueprint. It determines where your energy flows and what your future will look like. Without focus, you scatter your effort, and no structure can rise from scattered bricks. With focus, every action you take is aligned, every choice builds upon the last, and slowly the invisible lines of a strong foundation take shape. This is why focus is wealth. It is the rare currency that decides whether your hours are wasted or invested. But focus alone is not enough. You must also embrace micro-habits because these are the bricks of the architecture. Success is never a single giant stone. It is thousands of small bricks placed carefully, day after day, until the structure grows. Most people look for shortcuts, wanting to skip the slow laying of bricks. But the invisible truth is that every brick matters, and even the smallest habit compounds into something great if you are patient enough to keep building. Then comes energy management, the invisible cement that holds everything together. You may have focus and discipline, but if your energy is constantly drained by distractions, negativity, and exhaustion, your structure will not stand. Energy gives strength to the work, clarity to the mind, and resilience to the heart. Protecting your energy is therefore an invisible habit of the highest order, because without energy, even the strongest plan falls apart. Once the structure begins to rise, you must learn the art of eliminating noise, for noise is like weeds growing between the stones. If you do not cut it out, it will weaken the foundation. The habit of removing what is unnecessary, decluttering your environment, simplifying your goals, distancing yourself from toxic influences is invisible but transformative. Noise makes you believe you are busy, but eliminating it makes you truly productive. The walls of the architecture are built by the ritual of deep work. Shallow work decorates the outside, but deep work strengthens the inside. It is in deep work that you write the pages no one else could write, solve the problems no one else could solve, and create the ideas no one else could imagine. Deep work is not glamorous because it happens in solitude, but it produces results that change lives. The structure of success cannot be hollow, it must be filled with the strength of concentrated effort. Above all, the architecture is supported by patience, the invisible multiplier that allows everything else to endure. Without patience, the builder abandons the structure halfway, frustrated by slow progress. But with patience, every brick laid becomes part of something greater. Every silent effort compounds, and what once looked like empty space slowly rises into a fortress. Patience is the unseen force that transforms a foundation into a monument. And finally, the architecture must be aligned with purpose, for purpose is the design. Without purpose, you may build a tall structure, but it will stand empty, meaningless, and fragile. With purpose, every brick, every effort, every habit contributes to a legacy. Purpose is the reason you keep building even when it is hard, the reason you endure storms without giving up, the reason your structure stands not just for yourself, but as a beacon for others. Habits without purpose are hollow, but habits aligned with purpose become immortal. When all of these invisible habits combine, focus, micro-actions, energy, clarity, deep work, patience, and purpose, they form a silent architecture so strong that nothing can bring it down. From the outside, people will see only the final result, the wealth, the success, the mastery, the peace. They will not see the years of invisible building. They will not see the late nights, the quiet mornings, the small habits repeated in obscurity, the patience practiced in silence, the distractions removed without applause. And that is why they will call it luck, talent, or fate. But you will know the truth. It was invisible habits all along. The greatest lesson of all is this: your life is being built right now, whether you realize it or not. Every thought, every choice, every habit is a brick in the structure of your future. You cannot escape this reality, but you can choose what kind of structure you are building. Are you building a fragile house made of distractions and impatience, or are you building a fortress of focus, patience, discipline, and purpose? The choice is invisible today, but the result will be visible tomorrow. So guard your focus as treasure, build your habits with intention, protect your energy, cut away the noise, practice deep work, endure with patience, and align everything with your purpose. These are not dramatic actions. They are quiet, invisible disciplines. But over time, they will create visible wealth, visible success, and visible peace. Success is not something you stumble upon. It is something you build silently, brick by brick, until one day the world sees what you have built and calls it greatness. This is the silent architecture of success. Build it, protect it, and live within it. For when you master the invisible, the visible will take care of itself. Chapter 9. The Wealth of a Focused Life. Every journey of transformation eventually comes to a point of reflection, where you pause, look back, and realize how far the invisible path has carried you. In this book, we have walked through habits so small they are almost unnoticeable, practices so quiet they are rarely celebrated, and disciplines so hidden they escape the eyes of the world. Yet these invisible habits are the very ones that create the kind of visible success others will one day admire and perhaps even envy. What seemed insignificant in the moment, the way you protect your focus, the tiny actions you repeat daily, the energy you preserve, the noise you eliminate, the depth you bring to your work, the patience you cultivate, and the alignment you find in your purpose. All of it silently builds a wealth that cannot be measured only in money. It builds a wealth of clarity, resilience, strength, and fulfillment. We live in a culture obsessed with appearances. People want to be seen, recognized, validated, and admired, often before they have even built the foundation for lasting success. But appearances without substance are fragile. A castle built on sand may look impressive for a season, but the first storm will reveal its weakness. The wealth of a focused life, however, is different. It may not be visible in the beginning because invisible habits rarely attract applause. You will not receive standing ovations for reading a page a day, for waking up early to meditate, for practicing in silence when no one is watching, or for saying no to distractions. Yet over time, these quiet habits compound. What once seemed invisible begins to take visible form: a stronger body, a sharper mind, a peaceful spirit, a growing account of financial independence, a reputation for reliability, a legacy of mastery. The true wealth of life is not found in how much you own, but in how much you control your mind, your habits, and your direction. A distracted man, even if rich, lives like a beggar because he cannot enjoy his wealth or direct it wisely. A focused man, even if modest in possessions, lives like a king because he commands his attention, guards his energy, and aligns his actions with purpose. Focus gives value to time. Energy gives power to focus, patience multiplies effort, and purpose turns repetition into meaning. This is the silent formula of success, hidden in plain sight, ignored by many yet available to all. As you reflect on your own life, ask yourself, what am I building with my focus? Am I scattering my attention on distractions, or am I investing it in something meaningful? Are my habits aligned with my purpose? Or am I wasting effort on routines that lead nowhere? Am I protecting my energy and eliminating noise? Or am I living in a storm of chaos that drowns out my potential? These questions matter because your future is being shaped right now, not by what you dream about, but by what you consistently do. And if what you do flows from invisible habits of focus, patience, deep work, and alignment, then success is no longer a matter of luck. It becomes inevitable. Patience deserves special mention here because it is the invisible bridge between effort and reward. Without patience, even the strongest focus crumbles under the weight of delay. Without patience, even the best habits collapse before their results appear. Impatience is why so many people quit just before they were about to succeed. They cannot endure the silence, the slow growth, or the invisible progress happening beneath the surface. But those who master patience understand that silence is not failure, that slow growth is still growth, and that compounding is always working even when nothing seems to be happening. This invisible strength multiplies everything else, turning ordinary effort into extraordinary outcomes. And then there is purpose, the final and greatest anchor of all. Purpose is what transforms your journey from a routine into a mission, from survival into significance. When your habits are tied to purpose, your energy feels limitless, your patience feels natural, and your focus becomes unshakable. Purpose gives your success meaning, so that wealth is not only financial but spiritual, not only visible but eternal. A man without purpose may achieve much and still feel empty, but a man with purpose finds fulfillment even in the smallest victories, because he knows they are part of something greater than himself. The wealth of a focused life is therefore not an accident, nor is it reserved for a lucky few. It is a choice made daily, in silence, often without recognition. It is built in the hours no one sees, in the sacrifices no one applauds, and in the patience no one acknowledges. But over time, it creates a life so strong, so clear, and so impactful that no one can deny its presence. The world may call it fortune or fate, but you will know it was built brick by brick, habit by habit, choice by choice, through invisible disciplines that turned into visible success. As you step forward from here, carry this truth with you. Wealth is not simply what you acquire, it is what you become. A wealthy life is not defined only by money, but by mastery of focus, depth of patience, clarity of purpose, and consistency of invisible habits. Build these quietly, protect them fiercely, and practice them daily, and you will discover that success does not need to be chased. It grows naturally, as a tree grows from a seed, silently, slowly, and then suddenly, all at once. Chapter 10. Epilogue. The invisible becomes visible. Every great journey ends not with applause, but with silence, not with the noise of the crowd, but with the quiet realization of how far you have come. The same is true of life. Success does not arrive in a single moment of glory. It reveals itself gradually, like the rising of the sun. For a long time, the horizon remains dark, and doubt creeps in, whispering that maybe nothing is happening. Yet if you stay steady, patient, and faithful to your invisible habits, light slowly begins to emerge. Then, almost without warning, the sky brightens, and what was once hidden becomes undeniable. That is the story of invisible habits. They appear ordinary in the beginning, almost meaningless, but in time they become extraordinary, transforming not only what you achieve, but who you are. The world you live in will constantly try to pull you away from this truth. It will tell you that success is about luck, about shortcuts, about making noise, about being seen before you are ready. It will tempt you with speed, with distraction, with the illusion of overnight victories. But if you look closer, you will see that those who rise quickly without building invisible foundations often fall just as quickly. Noise may bring attention, but only focus brings true wealth. Appearances may impress, but only discipline creates something that lasts. Shortcuts may seem faster, but only patience builds strength that cannot be broken. As you reflect on the principles we have walked through together, focus as wealth, the power of micro-habits, energy management, eliminating the noise, the ritual of deep work, the invisible multiplier of patience, and the alignment of habits with purpose, you will notice that none of these are glamorous. They do not demand the spotlight, they do not seek attention, and they rarely win applause in the beginning. They are quiet, humble, invisible. Yet it is precisely their invisibility that makes them so powerful. Because while others are distracted by what is seen, you will be building what is unseen. And what is unseen always outlasts what is seen. Consider this. A tree spends years growing roots beneath the surface before it ever rises into the sky. A building requires invisible foundations underground before the walls and towers appear. A musician spends thousands of hours practicing in silence before their performance touches the world. A writer bleeds onto the page in solitude long before their words find readers. Success in every field is the same. The world applauds the results, but it is the invisible process that creates them. The epilogue of this journey is therefore a reminder: never underestimate the invisible. It is not wasted effort, It is the very thing that sustains everything visible. What does this mean for you? It means you must stop waiting for the right moment, the perfect opportunity, or the applause of others before you begin. You already hold the tools to transform your life, your focus, your daily habits, your ability to manage energy, your courage to remove noise, your commitment to deep work, your strength to practice patience, and your clarity of purpose. These tools do not need permission, they do not require talent, and they are not limited by circumstance. They are always available, always within your reach, waiting for you to use them. The only question is whether you will. You must also understand that wealth, in its truest form, is not limited to money. Money can be lost in a day, but the wealth of focus, discipline, patience, and purpose can never be stolen from you. This wealth gives you control over your life. It gives you freedom from the chains of distraction, resilience against the storms of failure, and the ability to live with clarity when others live in confusion. Money may open doors, but true wealth, built through invisible habits, creates a foundation so strong that no door can ever close you in again. And so, as we close this journey, I leave you with a truth that should never be forgotten. The invisible always becomes visible. The focus you protect today will become the mastery others admire tomorrow. The patience you endure today will become the strength that carries you through life. The micro-habits you repeat quietly will become the achievements others call miraculous. The purpose you align with today will become the legacy you leave behind. Others may not notice while you build, but when the time comes, your results will speak louder than any words, louder than any noise, louder than any doubt. The epilogue of this book is not truly an ending. It is an invitation, a call for you to begin, to practice, to trust, and to build. To choose focus over distraction, depth over shallowness, patience over impatience, and purpose over emptiness. To remember that invisible does not mean unimportant, and silence does not mean wasted. To trust that your quiet daily habits are writing the story of your life in ways more powerful than you can yet see. One day you will look back and realize that every invisible act mattered. Every sacrifice, every moment of discipline, every time you chose to stay the course instead of giving up, they were not wasted. They were the bricks, the roots, the foundations of the life you were always meant to build. And in that moment, you will understand the greatest truth of all. Success was never about doing extraordinary things once. It was about doing ordinary things consistently, invisibly, until they created something extraordinary. This is the wealth of focus. This is the power of invisible habits. And this is your invitation to begin building today. Quietly, patiently, purposefully. For when you master the invisible, the visible will take care of itself. Chapter 11. The Quiet Victory Within. When the noise of the world fades and you are left alone with your own thoughts, a question always arises. Have I lived my life with intention, or have I allowed it to be stolen by distraction? For most people, the answer is painful. They realize that years have slipped through their fingers while chasing noise, while running after things that never truly mattered. But there are a few, those who chose the invisible path, who can sit in that silence with peace. They know that their lives were not wasted because they built quietly with focus, patience, and purpose. Their wealth is not only measured in what they have, but in who they have become. That is the quiet victory within, the one that no one can see, but that you can feel deep in your soul. The world often teaches you to measure success by visible signs. How much money is in your account, how many people know your name, how many achievements you can display on a list. Yet these measures are shallow if they are not rooted in something deeper. What good is wealth without peace? What good is recognition without authenticity? What good is speed without direction? The quiet victory is the opposite of this illusion. It is not loud, not dramatic, not always recognized, but it is real. It is the ability to live with focus when others are scattered, to live with patience when others are restless, to live with meaning when others are empty. This victory is invisible in the beginning because it is born in your habits. It comes from the decision to guard your focus like treasure when everyone else is wasting theirs on distractions. It comes from the choice to repeat small micro-habits daily, even when no one claps for you, even when progress feels slow. It comes from the discipline of managing your energy so you can give your best to what matters most. It comes from eliminating the noise that drowns out clarity, even if it means walking away from people, habits, or environments that no longer serve your growth. It comes from the sacred ritual of deep work, where you sit in silence and create what only you can create. It comes from patience, the invisible multiplier that allows your seeds of effort to grow. And it comes from purpose, the anchor that ensures every action, no matter how small, moves you in the direction of a meaningful life. The quiet victory within is not about speed, it is about endurance. Anyone can be disciplined for a week. Anyone can focus for a short time. Anyone can try hard when motivation is fresh. But the invisible habits demand more. They require you to keep going when excitement fades, to show up when no one is watching, to persist when nothing seems to be happening. This is the test that most people fail. They quit too soon, they give in to impatience, they abandon the invisible path. But those who endure discover something remarkable. While others are burning out chasing quick results, their steady habits are compounding into something unshakable. The quiet victory is also freedom, freedom from the chains of comparison, because you no longer measure your life by someone else's speed. Freedom from the noise of the world, because you know how to eliminate what distracts you. Freedom from the restlessness of always needing results immediately, because patience has taught you that time is your ally. Freedom from emptiness, because your habits are aligned with purpose, and everything you do carries meaning. True wealth is not simply financial independence. It is the independence of the soul, the ability to live in alignment with yourself without needing the approval of others. And when this quiet victory ripens into visible success, the world will notice. People will see your results and call you lucky, gifted, or extraordinary. They will not understand the years of invisible discipline, the small choices you made when no one was looking, the countless times you resisted distraction, the long seasons of patience. They will see only the fruit, not the roots. But you will know. You will know that the fruit grew because you stayed loyal to the invisible process. That is the essence of true success. The invisible becoming visible, the quiet victory becoming undeniable. The question then is not whether invisible habits work, they always do. The real question is whether you will trust them long enough to see their results. Will you stay the course when progress is invisible? Will you keep building when no one is clapping? Will you remain patient when the harvest seems far away? If you do, then the quiet victory will be yours, and with it will come a life of wealth, mastery, and peace that no one can take away. So let this be your final reminder. Success is not noise, it is silence. It is not quick, it is patient. It is not shallow, it is deep. It is not scattered, it is focused. It is not empty, it is purposeful. The quiet victory within is not about what others see, it is about what you know to be true when you are alone with yourself. And when you master the invisible, when you honor the silent architecture of success, you will discover that the greatest wealth is not out there. It is already within you, waiting to be revealed. Every page of this journey has been leading to one truth. The most valuable wealth you can ever possess is not in your bank account, not in your possessions, and not in the recognition of the world. The greatest wealth is your ability to focus, to discipline your mind, and to cultivate invisible habits that quietly shape your destiny. Focus is wealth, because focus determines what grows in your life. Where your attention goes, your future follows. We have seen that success is not sudden, nor is it loud. It is the product of micro-habits so small they seem insignificant, but which compound over time into extraordinary results. It is the result of managing your energy, because time alone is useless without the vitality to fill it. It is born from the courage to eliminate the noise that drowns out clarity, from the strength to practice the ritual of deep work when the world is busy with shallow distractions. It is the fruit of patience, the invisible multiplier that turns small efforts into monumental outcomes, and it is anchored by purpose, the force that gives meaning to every action. Together, these invisible habits form the silent architecture of success, the unseen foundations that support everything you will one day build. The world around you will tempt you to abandon this path. It will tell you that noise is power, that speed is success, that appearances matter more than foundations. But if you look closer, you will see the emptiness of this illusion. People who rise without invisible discipline fall just as quickly, but those who build quietly, who honor the invisible, who live patiently and purposefully, create something no storm can destroy. Now the choice belongs to you. Every day you are either investing your focus wisely or wasting it recklessly. You are either building invisible habits or abandoning them. You are either aligning your life with purpose or drifting without direction. The wealth of a focused life is not given by chance. It is created by choice, by invisible disciplines repeated in silence until they become undeniable. So step forward with clarity. Guard your focus as the treasure it is. Begin with micro-habits so small they are impossible to fail. Protect your energy as if it were gold. Cut away the noise. Immerse yourself in deep work. Endure with patience and align everything with purpose. If you do these things, you will discover what many never realize, that success is not found in chasing the visible, but in mastering the invisible. And one day, when the habits you built in silence have turned into achievements the world can see, when the invisible becomes visible, you will understand the true meaning of wealth. You will see that the greatest fortune you ever held was not money or recognition. It was focus, discipline, and purpose. That is the wealth no one can steal, the wealth only you can build, and the wealth that will carry you through life with strength, peace, and fulfillment. This is the end of the book, but it is the beginning of your journey. Build quietly, live purposefully, and let your invisible habits create a visible success story that speaks louder than words.